And we're back. Anima has three types of supernatural abilities: Key Dominion, Magic, and Psionics. Alright. So Key Dominion is the Dominion of Key. Energy Blast, Flying, anything you can see in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, you can do it. Um, Very anime inspired abilities. You can do them with Key Dominion, which is a big appeal. It appeals to a lot of people. Now, how Key works is you have to use something called martial knowledge. Every single character gets martial knowledge. So they use martial knowledge to get key abilities and to create techniques. All right. So techniques use key to fuel them. That's the mana. But there are six different key pools: strength, dexterity, agility, constitution, power, and will. It's a lot of minutia. A lot of minutia. Trust me. When you have like a character and you have points in every single one of these pools, it's a lot to track of. A lot to keep track of. And every time you level up, and if you're someone that uses key techniques, you have to buy up points. Buy up key points. You have to buy new key points. And you have to decide whether they're gonna be strength key points, dexterity key points, etc., etc. Needlessly complicated, like I said before. All right. So a technique that you have might use specific key points from specific characteristics or generic. Generic just means that you can use it from any pool. But to use these abilities, you can just spend the key points and you do them. No, you have to do the Dragon Ball Z thing and gather up that energy. You gather up the energy per turn, and the amount you gather is determined by your accumulation score, which you can buy up every time you level up. Alright, let's say you have enough key points. As soon as you have gathered enough key points, you just do the key ability. Alright, simple enough. Um, Honestly, it's not that complicated once you sit down and you start doing it. The problem is when you're a game master and you have to explain this, magic, and psionics to your players. I do like the Key Dominion. It's a really fun system. I have not seen another system like it in any other game. And the best part of it is you can customize the ability you want. If you want an ability that you can shoot a fireball that splits into 10 fireballs and attacks 10 different people, you can. If you want an ability that you can teleport, appear behind your opponent, and slash them once, you can. If you want an ability that you hold your sword up high, make it so long and big that it covers, and I kid you not, 1 mile across, 1 mile forward and 50 feet wide. You can make your sword a mile long and 50 feet wide and attack everyone in that area. You can. You can do a lot of crazy things with Key Dominion. And that is so fun because you can flavor it however you want. The same attack that is a mile long and 50 feet wide, it can be an energy attack. It could be you summoning a giant horse trampling everyone. That is really cool. It's really fun. Once you have your players creating different key abilities, each one showing their creativity and describing them in different ways. And when you have your villains doing their attacks, and you look at the player characters, so um, interested in how you're gonna describe the abilities of the villains. It's really 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 cool. So I like Key a lot. And once I get to review this book, Dominus Exet, I'll explain to you why Anima should have just stopped here. Because it does key so well. And it's something that is very this game. Because no other game has a system like it. They should have stopped there. I think if the game would have stopped there, it would have had a lot more appeal to everyone. And the game wouldn't have a niche crowd. It wouldn't have a cult following. It would actually be more famous than it actually is. And people wouldn't bash it as much. Then we have magic. To be able to use magic, you must possess the gift. What is the gift? Is it something you say to your game master that you have a character creation? No. The gift is an advantage. Remember when I was talking about character creation and creation points? You get 3 creation points at character creation. And you can get disadvantages to get more creation points. You need to spend one of those 3 precious creation points to be able to use magic. Yeah. Key can do anything magic can do. Here's the problem. You could literally use key and call it magic. There is nothing stopping you from being a key wielder with a book where you have all your techniques, which are spell book, which will be your spells, and you just flavor them as spells. Nothing at all stopping you. The same goes for uh, psionics, psychic abilities. So you need to spend one of those 3 points to be able to use magic. After that, you have to spend points in buying your Sion, which is this game's mana, because you use spells, they consume Sion. That's how it is. You have a MP bar, if you want to think about it that way. You have to buy your MP. You have to buy up how much you can gather per turn. Because like Key, you can't just use magic. You have to accumulate the energies around you and then cast your spells. You have to buy up how much you can gather per turn. And that one usually costs a lot, even if you're a spell user. While you're gathering while you're gathering magical ability, Sion, if you suffer damage, you can lose what you gathered. You can stop it, however, using a skill called Withstand Pain. So as a magic user, you also have to buy Withstand Pain to be able to maintain your gathered Sion to cast a spell if you get hit. Here's my biggest gripe with this particular rule. No spellcasting class buys Withstand Pain for cheap. It's either 2 points or most of them 3 points. 3 development points for every 1 point you want in Withstand Pain. Withstand Pain is a necessity for spellcasters. And you think something that is necessary for a character would be cheap. Not here. So that's a big problem there. That's a big design flaw. I don't think that was properly playtested. Another thing you have to buy is your attack ability with your spells. So you buy your attack ability with your spells to be able to attack with your spells. Functions the same as with weapons. Spells have a base damage, and depending on the difference between the attack roll and the defense roll is how much damage you deal. Alright. You also have to buy your defense ability. Because some spells are defensive. For example, bubble spells. Bubble spells, how they work is you cast a bubble around yourself, and the bubble has its own health. When someone attacks you, you use your bubble to defend yourself, using your spellcasting defensive ability. your defensive magic projection, how it's actually stated in the game. Those bubbles can defend against everything. And here's the thing, you need Xeon to cast the bubble and then maintain it. And while you maintain a spell, it drains Xeon every single turn. If you run out of Xeon, you can't defend anymore. And if you're a spellcaster, you're not gonna be buying dodge or block probably because it's too expensive for you. Usually 3 development points for every point in dodge or block that you want. So see the problem? It's very costly to be a spellcaster, but not so much to be a domine, which is the people that use the key abilities. Alright, you don't create spells. The book has a spell list and it gives you spells. Those spells are really well written. They're really well written and well designed, with the exception of two. And I really have a problem with those spells: Chimera and Undead Chimera. These are spells that, if you give enough time to players, as soon as they learn that spell, they can level up to level 15. Just like that. It's a spell that levels you up. Once you use it, you can't use it on the same person again, sure. But not only can it level you up, it gives you the ability to learn monster abilities. Which at that point you can just give yourself as much armor as you want, horrendous attacks. It's a a game breaking spell. A well designed game doesn't have a game breaking spell, generally. So I have a big problem with that spell. But you're the game master, you can just eliminate that spell completely. Or have it as a plot spell. You control how much they level up if they level up. Alright, that's fine. Choosing spells. You have a spell book, you can either decide to learn, you can specialize in a path, and you learn up to your allowed spell level in that path. Alright? Or you can cherry pick spells. Every spell has a cost, you take that cost away from your maximum spell level, and you learn that particular spell. So that's cool because it lets you decide how you want your character to learn spells. Then you have something things called so you have your regular spells and then you have high spells and divine spells. These are spells that change the game completely. These are plot spells. For example, there's one that raises the dead and the whole world. That's what it does. The last spell in necromancy. It raises every single dead creature in the world as undead under your command. The most powerful spell in the fire book, it blows up, and it's in the book, half of the planet. Half of the planet blows up. The repercussions of that are insane. The good thing, however, is that even though these spells exist, your players can never use them. Because the game doesn't give you guidelines to allow players to use these spells. Because it depends on their gnosis. And I'll get to that soon, and I do have that written down. Because I want to talk about gnosis. There's one last spell I want to talk about. It's a really funny spell, and I think other games should have a spell like that. It's called Contraceptive Protection. And it does what you think it does. It's a spell that protects you or other people from sexually transmitted diseases and pregnancy. There's a spell like that in this book. Yeah. Then in Magic, although it's given its own chapter, but it's basically magic, summoning. And oh boy, how I loathe summoning in this game. because you can specialize yourself in summoning. You can do that. You can do the same in a lot of other games. For example, in Pathfinder, you can become a conjurer, and you have a million celestial monkeys activating all the traps you want. Yay! Or you can be a summoner. You have your Eidolon if you're playing again Pathfinder. You can have your own creatures fighting for you, and that's fine. And you can do that. You can do the same in this game, and that's not what I have a problem with. You use Xeon, you expend Xeon to activate your summoning abilities. You have four summoning abilities: summon, summon the creature; control, to be able to actually control the creature; bind, and what you use bind to is you can either bind the creature to an item, so you can call upon it whenever you want, or you can bind it to yourself to create a familiar. Basically, you have two characters. You have your main character and your summon. And that's fine. But then you have banish. And oh lordy lord, how much I hate banish. It's an ability that breaks the game. Because you can literally specialize yourself in banish and nothing else. And usually when you're fighting monsters in this game, there's what's considered creatures between worlds. They're creatures that are basically magical energy. And banishes them to the soul flow, life stream. The soul flow is the well of souls where all souls go and turn into energy and then create another soul. Whatever. But if you specialize in banish, every time you're fighting anything that's between worlds, you can just banish it. Almost everything you're gonna fight in this game is gonna be a being between worlds. You don't have to put points in your attack. You don't have to put points in anything else. If you're a spellcasting class, or if you're one of the summoning classes that have the summoning abilities for 1 point buys one, and you can spend up to 60% of your points there, you buy up your Xeon and you buy up your Banish and nothing else. And you will be face rolling through every single combat you have. There is a penalty for using Banish in one turn. Because usually the summoning abilities, you do a ritual. The more time you spend in the ritual, the lesser the penalty, and the greater the bonus. The biggest penalty is 100. But if 1 point buys one Banish, and you're specializing in Banish, that penalty of 100 is not going to affect you that much. Because each creature doesn't have its own difficulty class for banishing them. No. It's per level. All creatures of level 9 have this difficulty class to be banished. And banishing has the lowest difficulty class of all four summoning abilities. No. In my games, I vetoed banishing. There could be workarounds. You can make the DC. You can make the difficulty class higher, sure, but no. Just no. I like to run interesting games. I like to run story oriented games. But I also like to challenge my players. And where is the challenge? Where a fire breathing dragon composed of only molten rock appears and you just go like, not my problem anymore. I banished it, Game Master. By the way, my party members, they didn't do anything. All the XP goes to this guy. Oh yeah. Then of course you can just start making really weird creatures and just make them natural creatures, but then it's just weird. What is that fire breathing molten dragon doing being a natural creature? You're telling me that that happens naturally in the world? Yeah. No. So that's honestly the biggest problem I've ever had with this game during all the time that I've known it has been banish. And it's weird. Not that there has ever been a player that has used it against one of my creatures, but it's just the fact that that possibility exists bothers me to no end. How did that get through playtesting? How do you allow a mechanic that lets you win at the game pass playtesting stages? And that's just sad. So I mentioned familiars, which are creatures basically you have, cohorts, followers, whatever, basically another character. Then you have invocations. And invocations, car, sorry, I couldn't hear myself. Invocations, simply put, are summons. If you play Final Fantasy, you know what I'm talking about. Eidolons. That's what they are. Creatures that appear one turn, do a big attack, big flash attack, then disappear. I do like how the game handles it. You need your summoning ability, you expend Xeon, but each creature that you can summon in this game that's actually started out, it gives you a description of how the attack happens, the cinematic, the cutscene, if you will. And that is really cool. That's very ingenious. So you have that. I don't really have a problem with invocations. I do remember a player once that she had a couple of invocations, but there was one invocation that she would usually use, the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man, what he would do is you would sacrifice of your health to give it to the hangman, and then he would turn it into a javelin of blood and he would throw it at people. And when things got bad, what her character did was sacrifice almost all their health to give it to the hangman. And I think that one time the hangman dealt, I think, over 5,000 points of damage. I don't remember what they were fighting. It died a lot, and it was glorious. Everybody enjoyed that. A couple of sessions after that, a demon appeared and controlled her character, and the players were scared. They didn't want her character to summon the hangman they didn't want her character to summon the hangman and attack them. So never did. I stopped the fight before that happened. But it was really fun. Alright, enough about magic. Psychic disciplines. Psionics. Psionics is a very simple uh, supernatural school to follow in Anima because you buy up your psychic points, your PPs, and you can use your PP to learn new abilities. Spend one PP, learn one new ability. Alright, simple. It's a fair trade. You can use your psychic points to bolster your ability to use the psychic abilities, and you can also use psychic points to have certain psychic abilities on at all times. Very simplistic stuff, very fun stuff. However, this is the biggest problem. Some of these abilities are broken. Imagine this. I have a character, he's a physical character, and he also has psychic abilities. And I make sure to put points in physical increase, the psychic discipline, physical increase, and I increase all my physical attributes by 5. And I have that on at all times, and it costs nothing. So you're not really using your resources because you're just giving yourself a lot of passive abilities that are always on. Wow, that's a bit excessive. I remember it got to the point that one of my players had an ability that would give him bonuses on initiative. And remember the thing about initiative? That if you get it so high, you always catch your opponent by surprise? He was doing that every single turn. And it got annoying. Fast. As fast as he was. So that's one problem with psychic abilities. Honestly, they're not that bad. It's just those certain abilities that you can maintain that you can just become an unstoppable character. Alright. But again, anything you can do with psychic disciplines, summons, magic, you can do with key abilities. More on that once I get to Dominion. What's the name? Dominus Exet. Sorry. All right. Then the game, the core book also explains a little bit about the campaign setting, but honestly, I'll leave the campaign setting once I review the setting book proper. Then in the final chapters of the book, you have Gnosis, and I wanted to talk about Gnosis. Gnosis is basically how important you are in the game world. That's it. Of course, the higher your Gnosis is, the certain abilities you get, but you're never gonna get them because those abilities are really, really, really powerful. So you're not gonna get that type of power to your players because then the game becomes really, really ridiculous. So you have Gnosis, doesn't really do anything then. Honestly, that aspect of the game can be completely ignored. Just don't allow Chimera, the spell, because then the PC's Gnosis is gonna go up and they're gonna be able to buy off monster abilities. Which gets me to my favorite chapter in the book, monster creation. And if there's something this book did well was the monster creation section. You have so many options to create creatures. You can create them however you want. You can spend points however you want to give them different abilities. You can give them weak points. You can even give them something that states, for example, you can give them a disadvantage that is a weakness that is if this creature fights in a church under the light of a full moon and there's a choir singing, the creature could die. And there are actual mechanics to do something like that. And that is amazing. That is really, really fun. Because then you can have plot hooks for the players to find out these abilities, these weaknesses of these creatures. You can have whole adventures based around that alone. That chapter is my favorite chapter in the entire book. It's amazing what you can do to create creatures. Going back to the Chimera spell, your players can buy off those abilities, even the disadvantages, to a certain limit. But they could, if they wanted, buy armor, natural armor, that defends against everything. And again, unstoppable characters. I mean, if that's the type of game you like to run, the more power to you. No thanks, though. Uh, and those are the final chapters of the book. Um, if you wanna too long didn't watch, I have a couple of cliff notes. The art of this book is amazing everywhere you look. If you don't like the book itself, but you are a connoisseur of art, this book is really good. It's really good. It has really good references. The art is amazing, but there is a problem. None of the art you find here has any context to it. Like, the chapter might be talking about the penalties for playing an old character, and then there's a picture of of an old guy with a sword, and the caption reads, "Nobody can escape age." What? But the art is really good. I know that's just a nitpick. Another big problem the book itself has, like the book itself has, not the game, the book, organization. Sometimes the book will tell you about something that is not gonna come up in a couple of chapters away. It might mention something that appears on a page many chapters away, and it doesn't reference the page that it's on. So then you're gonna be going back and forth in the book. Had a lot of grammar problems. This book was originally uh, in Spanish. The one that created the book was a man from Spain, and so the translation team didn't do a really good job. I remember in the creature section, I remember the example itself. In the creature creation section, it gives you a couple of table, ability and its cost. But there's a table that says ability and then costo, which is cost in Spanish, and that's just weird. Might be a minor nitpick, but if you're gonna have a book with really good presentation, outer presentation, get your translators to do a better job. Um, what else could I say? The game itself, honestly, it's fun and I like it. I really do. It just has so many bad points. And in the last few years that I've been designing games, designing classes, and designing my own system, I've been doing fixes to this game little by little. And little by little, they'll be uploaded to the web page. Um, Eventually, I'll be reviewing every single supplement for this book. Hopefully, the video is not gonna be this long. I promise. Honestly, this was also a sort of catharsis for me. So many things I needed to get off my chest. I love this book. I love this game. But man, do I hate it so much!